I want to tell you about the only book I've ever read twice in a row. I finished the last page, closed the cover, and immediately opened up back to chapter 1 and started reading again. Not because I missed something, but because I didn't want it to be over. That was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And soon it will hit theaters, starring Ryan Gosling. It has a 95% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and more hype than anything I've seen since Oppenheimer. Today we're doing page to screen, what the book does brilliantly, what the movie has to solve, and what any writer can learn from what Andy Weir had to pull off in one of the most technically complex and emotionally satisfying stories in modern history. So if you write fiction, any genre, not just crime, and you haven't studied how Weir structures this novel, you're leaving craft lessons on the table. Hit subscribe for more of these breakdowns, and sign up for my newsletter at tjstecker.com. I go deeper every week on craft and the publishing journey. But before we go further, I know what you're thinking. TJ, you write Appalachian crime fiction. You talk about Connolly, Chandler, and Lehane. Why are you talking about the sci-fi novel with an astronaut and an alien? And that'd be fair, but here's my answer. Project Hail Mary is a mystery novel wearing a spacesuit. Ryland Grace wakes up with no memory. He doesn't know who he is, where he is, or why he's there. He has to figure it out from first principles, from physical evidence, from clues, from logic. That is crime fiction DNA dressed up as hard science. And the craft lessons Weir uses. The hook, the unreliable narrator, the slow reveal, the impossible stakes, the relationship that carries emotional weight. Those work in any genre. This one's worth studying. Project Hail Mary came out in 2021, and it does something that's genuinely hard to pull off. It makes hard science not just accessible, but compulsive. The premise is that a single-cell organism called astrophage is eating the sun's energy. The Earth is headed towards ice age and extinction. The only hope is a lone scientist, sent to a distant solar system to find out why that star isn't dying. That scientist is Ryland Grace. He wakes up in the ship with no memory. His crewmates are dead, and the novel unfolds in two timelines simultaneously. The present aboard the ship as Grace pieces together his mission, and the flashbacks filling in how he got there. So here's craft lesson number 1, the amnesiac as POV device. Weir found an elegant solution to one of sci-fi's biggest problems. How do you explain complex, technical concepts without feeling like a lecture? You give your protagonist amnesia. Grace has to rediscover everything alongside us. His awe is our awe. His confusion is our confusion. It's one of the most effective uses of the unreliable but earnest narrator I've ever read. So crime writers, think about this. If you're struggling with how to get the exposition into your story naturally, think about how much your protagonist knows versus how much they're discovering in real time. That gap is where your story lives. Craft lesson number 2, the relationship carries the weight. I'm not going to pretend there are no spoilers in this video. If you haven't read the book and want to stay completely fresh, pause here, go read it. It's about a 10-hour audiobook. Go read it and come back. Midway through, Grace encounters Rocky, an engineer from a planet called Arid, sent on the same mission with his own civilization's desperation. Rocky communicates through music tones. He looks nothing like a human, and he becomes one of the most affecting characters I've ever read in fiction. The Grace-Rocky relationship is the emotional engine of the entire novel. Weir built the plot around a technical puzzle, but he built the heart around a relationship across biological and cultural impossibility. Two beings with nothing in common except intelligence, curiosity, and the fact they're both trying to save everything they love. And as Andy Weir says, the best science fiction isn't really about science, it's about people. That applies to every genre. The best crime fiction isn't really about crime, it's about the people the crime touches. Weir understands this, and built his technical marvel around an emotional core that hits like a freight train. Here's why this novel is genuinely terrifying to adapt. First, the science. Weir's books work because the science is real. He doesn't hand-wave astrophage, the biology of Rocky's species, the orbital mechanics, the fuel equations. It's all worked out. That's not something you can put on the screen the way you can put it on the page. A page gives you time. A movie gives you 2.5 hours and an audience that starts shifting in their seat. Second, Rocky. How do you put consistent, emotionally resonant alien on screen without it becoming a CGI distraction? The wrong choice here would break the whole film. The production's answer was practical effects. Director of photography Greg Fraser, the same DP behind Dune and No Time to Die, shot the film mostly without green screen. Rocky was built by legendary creature effects designer Neil Scanlon, performed on set by puppeteers, and then enhanced in post. The reports from early screenings suggest it works. Third, the dual timeline. Weir's alternating structure. Present on the ship, flashback to Earth, gives the book propulsive momentum that could easily collapse in a film. Drew Goddard, who adapted The Martian from the same author, wrote the screenplay. He solved it before. The question is whether he solved it here. Early reviews are split. Hollywood Reporter calls it a soaring interplanetary buddy movie. Variety calls it derivative and overly sentimental, but it has a 95% Rotten Tomatoes score, and the critical drinker loved it. So maybe overly sentimental works. The split reviews, they sound exactly right for a film adapting something this technically specific. So what can writers steal from this? Let me give you 3 specific things from Project Hail Mary. Book or movie, it doesn't matter, that you can take directly into your own writing. 1. Structure your reveals like a mystery even if you're not writing one. Weir withholds information deliberately and strategically. Grace's amnesia isn't a gimmick. It's a scaffold that lets Weir dole out exposition as revelation. Every time Grace remembers something, we feel it as a discovery. Ask yourself in your own work, what does my protagonist not know yet? And how do I control when the reader finds out? 2. Give your reader an impossible relationship and make it the moral center. The technical stakes of Project Hail Mary are extinction level. The emotional stakes are one friendship. Weir knew the extinction is abstract. Friendship is not. Whatever your story's macro stakes, corruption, murder, conspiracy, anchor them to a micro relationship that costs your protagonist something real. That's what I try to do with Jolene and Blaylock and the Moth. The corruption in Allegheny is the plot. Their relationship is the heart. 3. Competence is compelling. Ryland Grace is very good at his job. Watching a highly competent person solve a hard problem is intensely satisfying to read. Crime fiction has known this forever. It's the whole appeal of Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot, of Harry Bosch. Weir applied it to a scientist and it works the exact same way. Your protagonist doesn't have to be broken to be interesting. They have to be tested. So Project Hail Mary comes out in a few weeks. I'm going opening weekend. If you haven't read the book, read it before you see the film. Not because the movie will spoil it, but because you'll appreciate what Goddard and Lord and Miller had to solve. Adaptations are always a translation problem. The question is whether they found the emotional truth. Based on the reviews, it sounds like they did. Even Variety, which thought the film was too long and too sentimental, admits it will likely be a hit. And honestly, sometimes the sentimental reading is the right one. Andy Weir wrote a book about an impossible friendship saving 2 worlds. That's supposed to be a hit. For us as writers, study this one. Study how we structured revelation. Then go apply it to whatever dark corner of the world your story lives in. I'm TJ Stecker. This is Fireside Writer. See you at the movies. Now go write something.